This is lesson 10, and I'm going to introduce a couple things here, starting with what are called scenes, which we have not yet done. Scenes sort of save visual settings and points of view. Think of it as, you know, sort of setting up a camera. In a sense, these views are scenes because they represent views of the model from a particular perspective. So when I'm looking, if I select front, here I'm looking at the front of the model, right side of the model, back side of the model. We have all these guides which are kind of interfering. Let's just turn off visibility of guides for now and talk about what it is that we've got. I'm also going to select, remove these dimensions which we no longer need, that I've drawn inside my wall group. So I'm just removing those. Let's close that group. Don't need these either. So that we've already used all we've learned from measuring things. And let's turn back on the visibility of the porches. We don't have any doors and windows yet, but we're going to we'll deal with that soon. So what's a scene? Scene is saves a point of view along with the visible aspects, visibility settings for the model. So let's say I wanted to look at the front elevation here. Adding a scene allows you to return to all the visibility settings in the point of view of that are established here. And I'm going to rename this. I'm going to call it Elevation South. So I'm looking at the south side of the facade, and what it does is it saves all the settings associated, visual settings associated with a view, so that if I go back here and say, for example, turn guides, visibility of guides back on, if I double click the scene, I don't see the guides anymore because it's saved along with that view, things that were visible in that view. Let's talk about different scenes or orthographic views that are useful. If I want to generate a floor plan, what is a floor plan? It's a section through the model at a cutting plane of about 4 feet from the ground. So we're going to learn how to cut a section. Tools, section plane, and if you prefer not to see this dialog, it assigns names to the section. You can click that. So you'll see as I drag this section tool around the model, it is inferring, trying to infer orthographic placement with respect to different faces of the model. So if I click on this left side, it would cut through that left side. It creates a 3D object which can be moved like any other element. So this is the cutting plane for that section. Right? There are aspects of this section that are visible by default along with the section fill. If you prefer not to see that, you can turn that off. For now, we'll accept the defaults. So you can delete that section plane. Now what I'm going to do is place a section plane on the ground. And what happened? Everything disappeared. Why is that? Because the section plane has now cut everything beyond that plane. Placing it on the ground hides everything above it. So if I move this upwards, you can see, right, if the section plane is up in the sky like a bird, cuts through nothing. As it moves through the model, right, it cuts more and more of it. Here's what I want to do with this. I want to take this and I want to move it in the z-axis 4 feet from the ground. But the inside floor, we have a floor that is 12 inches thick. So that floor is 12 inches above grade, which is the earth outside the model. So what I want to do is add that 12 inches to the 4 feet. So I'm going to move the section plane in this direction 5 feet. 5 feet. Look at the view control box on the bottom right and hit enter. So that represents a cutting plane that's 4 feet above the 12-inch floor. Okay? Then I can align to that point of view and save this as a scene. Save the style, because that'll keep all this visibility settings. Create a scene, and then I'm going to call this first floor plan. So let's go back to my elevation south. No section plane, right? First floor plan. Elevation south. Let's turn the model to isometric, and we might as well save an isometric view of the model. I can go ahead and add it as a scene and rename it isometric model view. Saves all the layer and visibility settings and all that as well. So we also need a cross section and a long section through the model. So let's start with a cross section. Tools, section plane. I'm going to cut through the shorter dimensions, or the depth, stopped responding for a second. I'll have to wait for it to have to wait for it to respond. I'm going to pause this until our model returns. Okay, so I was cutting a cross section. Now I'm moving I've selected the section plane. I'm losing this model every time come on, baby. Okay, there's my cross section. Cross section is going to be through the 6-inch floor and 1 or 2 of the windows on that side. And I'm going to select that, align that view, and create a new scene and call it section cross. And I'm going to go back to my isometric model view and use the section tool again to cut a section the long way. Move the section plane into the model to reveal a good bit of it. I'm moving it to roughly where that section plane is in the AutoCAD drawing itself, right? Now I'm going to select this, align to that view, and call this, save it as a scene, section long, or longitudinal, whatever you prefer. I'm going to save this SketchUp file. (110) plan and section, because we created those views. And we'll stop after this. So now, just so that, to recap what we've done, we have a south elevation. So we're looking at the building from the outside toward its south face. We look at the model isometric view from that side. We have a sectional view the long ways. We have a section view crossways. And we have a first floor